making clothes. I'm going to be dyeing today this cotton with black tea. So if you're new to natural dyeing, as am I, there's several steps that you need to do. There's a cat. Anyway, I don't even remember what I was saying. You ruined my train of thought. So, let's unbox. Wow, a lot of stuff. Ooh. So they have on their, okay, another reason that this company is really nice is because on their website they have a ton of information, a ton of like how you do certain things, examples of what, you know, things look like, you know, once they've been dyed. And it looks like they went ahead and sent the printed version of their dyeing guide to me, which is so nice. The first step in natural dyeing is called scouring, which is essentially cleaning the fabric. If you don't know, if you do know, I don't know, skip ahead. But if you don't know, it's essentially cleaning the fabric because pretty much every, you know, commercially produced fabric these days is going to have some sort of coating on it. It is something that needs to be stripped in order for natural dye to adhere to it. For natural fibers, and these are all cottons, you use soda ash to scour. I got a couple different mordant options as well. So the one for cellulose plant fibers is aluminum acetate. So I got a bigger portion of that I'll be using. There's also this natural dye material gallnut. Basically, it has a lot of tannins in it. Plant fibers, I guess not animal fibers, just plant fibers, need tannin in order to adhere the dye to the fiber. I don't need to use this for the thin cotton because I'm dyeing it with black tea, which is very high in tannins. So the plan is to scour both the white cottons together in the tub and also mordant them in there, and then taking the thinner one that I'm using for the bloomers out into a black tea dye bath on the stove, and that will soak overnight. And then tomorrow I also have something I didn't pull out of here, ferrous sulfate, which is something that you apparently can actually make yourself if you have a bunch of rusty nails lying around. I don't, so I bought some. But it's funny, they call it like a satiner when it's used as a natural dye additive because it kind of deepens colors and makes them more like gray. But I am a soft So it's been about an hour. I could really feel like the waxy film on my fingers just from being in the water. So I'm pretty confident that it worked. And it doesn't, to me, look like milky or amber or anything. The plan after this is just to go ahead and drain the tub, rinse the fabric, and then add the mordant in and let that sit for as long as possible. We are dyeing 1-to-1, so that's 559 with the big fabric and then the little trim as well. And then we're simmering for 30 minutes, removing the tea bags, adding the fiber, maintaining 170 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 77 degrees Celsius, for 40 minutes, and then taking it off the heat and just letting it sit overnight. And then tomorrow we will do the iron dye before letting it dry for the day. started here and now it's black.
First of all, so sorry about the lighting here. Nothing I can do about it now. I cut and ironed all the pieces off camera, so this is just me sewing. I'm using the Simplicity 2777 pattern, Bloomer's B, though I am altering it a bit, as I'll explain as I go. First, I'm just sewing the front piece of each leg to the back piece at the side seams, and I'm doing French seams here, which you'll see later I mess up a little. I just forget about cutting the allowance down before doing the second stitch, so there are some frayed bits that peek through. I at least do manage to carefully iron the seams before the second stitch. Wow, the lighting is much nicer here. I'm just sewing the second stitch of those French seams here. Ooh, look at that. Nice, pretty finished seam. And then there are those frayed bits I mentioned. Then, like a good little sewist, I iron those seams to the back. Next, I sewed the trim over the front French seams to hide those unseemly frays. Then I gathered the ruffle panels and created a small strip to cover the bulky raw stitching without adding an additional leg panel. Here is past me trying to explain that.
So like it's gonna be, you know, right sides together, stitched together, and then once it's turned right, there will be a seam there. But then on the wrong side, I just want to like stitch this over it so that there won't be the seam there. So another way to do that is to just stitch the wrong side of the pant with the right side of this seam cover strip that I cut.
Then I proceed to pin each strip to its corresponding pant leg. You can see I'm first marking the halfway point between either edge, then between each two adjacent pins on both the gathered piece and the straight piece, so that I can get the most even distribution of gathering possible. Then I'm just adding some extra pins in for stability to keep all the gathers in place. And a kitty visitor joins us. Then sewing what I'd pinned. And pinning the ruffle to the pant leg with that same method. And sewing that in place. Then giving everything a good press before pinning each leg bands to each pant leg. finally sewing that leg band down.
Okay, I really hope this doesn't focus. Ooh. So I finished sewing each leg. I did have a bit of a hiccup where I realized like way too late that I made the same leg, like I made like 2 lefts or 2 rights. So I had a little bit of a crisis. Anyway, I fixed it, but I just didn't film any of it or me talking about it because it was stressful and I didn't want to. But now we have 2 complete legs. So we can see we have the, I hope you can see the like detailing here. This is like the front and the back of a single leg. And then at the bottom we've got the ruffle action. So if I'm like kind of draping it over myself, it's actually might even be a little long. We'll see, I guess. So the next steps after this are to combine the legs. So I guess here, oh, actually, no, before I combine the legs, there is something that I have to do. Oh wait, I guess I'll just take a little moment to highlight that I have nice finished seams. This is the back of this seam. And I mentioned earlier that I was worried about these little fraying bits, but thankfully they're getting covered by that, except for at the very top, which I still haven't decided exactly what I'm gonna do. Probably embroidering something to cover that up anyway, but we'll see how it looks when it's done, I think. And then on the ruffle part, we've got these nice seams. And in the back, this was kind of a weird, wonky way to finish a seam, and I hope isn't super uncomfortable to wear, but I just like wanted it to be nice and finished, even though it's like obviously kind of weird and not super professionally done. But this part's great though, and I used the existing hem of the sheet this is made out of. Right here, there's this sort of weird stain moment happening, and it's not super noticeable in all lighting, but it is there. I think I might want to try, because I did, and I said I wasn't going to, but I did dye the rest of the fabric as well with the iron. So I have plenty of scraps. So I was thinking I was gonna make some sort of patch over the stain areas before I put them together, because it will be a lot easier to do when it's just like a flat sheet. So I don't know exactly what I want to do though. I don't know how it's gonna go yet. If I just want to sort of do a really simple patch, like literally just a square of fabric sewn on, or if I want to like incorporate some visible mending techniques, because I do that a lot as well, or if I want to fully do like an embroidery like statement moment. So those are like the 3 options from like least to most extreme / obvious, because I definitely don't want to just leave the stain there. And I don't know if it was like part of, this is the problem with, I guess, using secondhand fabric and being low-key lazy, is that I don't know if the stain was there or, like originally, and either like I just didn't notice it or it got amplified by the dyeing process, or if I did something wrong in the dyeing process to create that. But either way, it's there, and so I have to fix it. So step 1 will be figuring out like what the design, and then I guess step 1A will be doing that mending method that I decide on. So the next step is to sew together the center front, so sort of like the belly to crotch area. And I guess I'm just gonna have to leave those seams unfinished, because like you're supposed to clip them and everything. You can't really do a French seam when you have to clip things, but there also isn't really enough of a seam allowance to like fell anything. Maybe I will be able to do that. Also, I don't really know about felling curves and stuff, so maybe I'll do some research and follow up. I don't know. And then Also the back, center back, so like the butt part. And then after that is stitching the inside of like the legs, like from one ankle through the crotch to the other ankle. So then we'll have like a fully like thing of pants that I can slip into. And then after that is where I have notes, because it's the waistband. So because the way that this one is designed is that there's like flat facing at the front of the waist, and then the sort of drawstring element starts at this front seams, like where the front and back pieces meet, where that ribbon detail is, and then scrunches from there. But it's just kind of a lot of distance, and I would rather it have like a uniform scrunch personally. I like the ones that I have now, I have just a regular waistband on, and I like it like that. And I also know that if I'm like sitting in a chair and I have like a string behind me, that will really aggravate me, and like maybe it looks a little bit better to like have the string in the back, but I care about comfort more. So yeah. And then we just stitch the right sides together, pin facing / casing to upper edge of garment. So okay, so we're pinning the waistband to the pants, matching the seams, and then sewing on with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And then next up, to understitch, press waistband away from garment, press seam towards waistband, with waistband side up, stitch close to the seam through the waistband and seam allowance. Basically, we're top stitching on the waistband and catching the seam allowance in the back side. It's really clear on this picture. And then we turn the waistband to the inside and press it into place. Yeah, and then stitch the waistband closed. And that should be it hypothetically.
I personally love how these bloomers turned out. They are quite comfy, and I just adore the ruffle panel detail. They're so much fun to wear, definitely in my regular outfit rotation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the process, on how they turned out. If you enjoyed this video, I appreciate a like and a follow. I'm still quite new to this content creation thing, so thank you so much if you've made it all the way to the end. I appreciate you, I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next time.